So good morning, everyone, and welcome to this session, Preparing for Innovation Procurement. This is part of the growth sessions organized by InnoMatch, and it is done in collaboration with Spin for EIC, both initiatives under the EIC Innovation Procurement Program. My name is Elena López from Ticbiomed, representing the InnoMatch consortium here, and I'll be your session moderator. So the goals of today's sessions are to first understand or learn from other buyers' experiences. We will have two buyers who are preparing their innovation procurement journey, who will share how are they doing it, the lessons learned and practical recommendations for other buyers who want to and then tackle the innovation procurement challenge. And second, we're gonna also showcase specific instruments and assistance schemes that are available at the European level, both from the European Innovation Council Innovation Procurement Program and also another initiative, the Innovation Procurement Hubs. Before we start, a few housekeeping rules. Of course, the session will be recorded and we're going to distribute the recording and the slides by the end of the session. All participants are muted, so in case that you have questions, please post them in the Q&A box and we will reply to them after each presentation. When it comes to the agenda, we have first, a welcome by Vassilis, Tsanidis and Bertrand from the European Innovation Council. They are the two persons responsible for the Innovation Procurement Program. And then we will jump in on the first block on the buyers' experiences that are preparing for adoption. We're going to have Alberto Torresin from the Lombardy region and Lucía Jaramillo on behalf of the Belgian Digital Transformation Office, as she has been in close collaboration with them for the preparation of their innovation procurement strategy. Then we were gonna jump in the opportunities for buyers. First, we're gonna give the floor to Spyrangelos from Corvers, who will present the assistance to public buyers that is now being offered by Spin for EIC, and will provide some recommendations for procurers who want to procure after having done a pilot testing, as is the case in InnoMatch. Then Fiorela Tamburrelli will explain the buyer's guidance document. This is a document that we've developed in the InnoMatch project with an overview of the adoption instruments available, especially, as I was saying, after a pilot, such as in InnoMatch. And last but not least, we're going to have Yannis Zormpas from Boston Consulting Group presenting the Innovation Procurement Hub initiative. As I said, not from the EIC Innovation Procurement Program, but also we wanted to present it as it's something that as a procurer you can benefit from. And finally, we'll have some questions and answers with the audience. So let's immediately start. Without further ado, I give the floor to Vassilis, Tsanidis and Bertrand to introduce the EIC Innovation Procurement Program.
Thank you very much, Elena. From my side, warm welcome to this growth session that is prepared together by the EIC Innovation Procurement Program, the two flagship initiatives, Spin for EIC and InnoMatch. But before I enter into details about these two initiatives, allow me first to explain very briefly the activities of the this program. So the EIC Innovation Procurement Program is a holistic approach to support the demand and the supply side when it comes to innovation procurement. The aim of this program is to facilitate and mainstream innovation procurement implementation in Europe, but also to open up business opportunities to innovative SMEs and startups to procurement markets in Europe, but also at the global level. There are activities at targeting the demand, but also activities targeting the supply side. Very briefly, for the demand side, there are regular matchmakings that are happening between between the public and private sector buyers and EIC awardees. There is assistance to public buyers, so you will hear more about this, but if you are a public buyer, representatives of public buyers, do not hesitate to receive assistance to carry out innovation procurements, because it is really important to receive hands-on, tailored to your needs assistance in order to be able to prepare your procurement strategy to buy innovation. Then there are activities for the supply side, such as the Innovation Procurement Academies, where we are offering hands-on information to innovators to access procurement markets in Europe, but also at the global level. The next academy will happen in the end of April, and a toolkit where we have hands-on information about procurements in Europe, but also at the global level. Our newest module that was published yesterday because of this event is a module of this toolkit about proof of concepts and pilot tests prior to public procurement. So it's a very important information on how to prepare your procurement after a proof of concept demonstration or a pilot test. But you will hear more about that later. And of course, the assistance. The assistance is we are offering hands-on assistance to beneficiaries to apply to submit offers to tenders in Europe, but also at the global level. All these activities are covered by SPIN for EIC, but we don't stop there. We are complementing this with financial support to carry out proof of concept demonstrations or pilot tests on the services of public or private sector buyers, and this is covered by InnoMatch. You will hear all this in detail today, how you can benefit, either you are a buyer or supplier, from all these activities, but also, and I would like to thank both SPIN for EIC and InnoMatch that joined forces and provided this event today, but also I would like to thank the colleagues from DG Grow that joined hands with us, and we have a presentation and a strategic collaboration with Innovation Procurement Hubs that you will hear later today. Having that said, I would like to thank you all for being here today, and I hope you have a very fruitful event. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vassilis. I would like to give the floor now to Bertrand, our project advisor.
Yes, good morning. Thank you, Elena. And well, not much to add on the top of what said Vassilis. Summing up, what is the Innovation Procurement Program? Perhaps just some useful also tips. You know that we are offering within the business acceleration services all the type of services in addition to innovation procurement that could be perhaps certainly interesting also for you to have a look at. We also organize regular events, and the next big event that we have will be in Brussels. The EIC Summit will be on the 3rd and 4th of June. Have a look, get registered, and join the community. That's also a nice way. You will have dedicated workshops, notably on innovation procurement. You will meet in person people involved in these activities. So yeah, that's what I wanted to add, and I'm eager to learn the feedback from experiences that you will share today. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Bertrand. Thank you, Vassilis, for this nice overview. Let's continue with the session, and before we jump in the buyer's experience, I would like to share briefly an opportunity that we have open now in InnoMatch. So as Vassilis presented, InnoMatch is about developing pilots and proof of concepts between EIC awardees and buyers, either public or private. These are selected through an open call, and the EIC awardee receives 60,000 euros for a 12-month program to deploy the pilot or the proof of concept with the buyer. And in addition, they receive support for commercialization in the case of the EIC, and to develop the post-pilot strategy in the case of the buyer. That is precisely what we are gonna discuss today. So if you are interested, we have an open call now until the 4th of February. We're gonna select 12 additional pilots, and we are especially interested in public buyers. So if you are one of them, please go and take the opportunity. Actually, we have an info webinar tomorrow in case you want to know more about the specific conditions of the call. And we are also offering matchmaking. As in the call, you need to apply in couple with an EIC awardee. If you are a buyer with an innovation challenge, you can actually publish it in our website, and we will support you to find an EIC awardee with whom you can apply to the call. But that's the end of this promotional quote. I will now like to give the floor to Alberto Torresin from DG Welfare from the Lombardy region, who will present his experience so far in the program. Alberto, the floor is yours.
Buongiorno, good morning to everyone in this section. I am Alberto Torresin, I'm a medical physicist. I'm working in Region Lombardia in Italy, Milano, and Alessandro Scardoni is my reference person. The Directorate General Welfare of the Region Lombardia is a public authority responsible of the planning, governance, financial and regional healthcare system. And the population of our region is about 10 million citizens. DG Welfare oversees the organization of welfare and social care service, particularly the coordination of the hospital and the clinical network. The stroke network is our interest in this case, but in general, emergency care, prevention, territorial care, and so on. We have a very large budget, it's about 20 billion. And DG Welfare uses the healthcare network as a tool for interconnecting different healthcare facilities and experience in our region. Stroke, to tell the truth, is the cause of a lot of clinical problems that we have in our region. And we have this, this problem is a general problem all over the world, but we need rapid diagnosis and treatment. This is the clinical outcomes that we need to increase with this project. We have an organization in a lot of hub and spoke network in the local region, because the spoke are connected to specialized hospital with the rapid consultation, image sharing, and access the advanced treatment. The number is about 11 hubs and 40 spokes. We need in this network, we have a delay of cross-hospital imaging access, fragmented system, lack of standardization, advanced stroke assessment, and complex hub-spoke coordination. This is the reality of our experience, but I think it's a general reality. And what our needs and objectives? Enhancing stroke diagnosis with and using ISO, artificial intelligence driven CT analysis, enable faster and more accurate spokes decision making. And we hope in this case to improve the regional stroke coordination And what is the current state in the procurement process? We needed to address and we start in this environment in November 2024, the project, the clinical application in stroke management for emergency and the interpretation of stroke CT scan. The project is currently in the pilot implementation phase of an artificial intelligence-based stroke imaging solution delivered under the InnoMatch program, and in parallel, Spin4AC support Region Lombardia in the procurement process. The scope is to find the innovative solution in the narrow real world, in reality of hub and spoke setting, because it's very important. Sometimes in the spoke doesn't exist experience in neuroradiology, high quality diagnosis level, so that the hub exists, but it's very important to reduce the time of the decision for what is the best solution for the patient. Second step is in implementation. Pilot include baseline assessment like IT integration, clinical training, workflow testing, KPI monitoring, and final evaluation. Final evaluation, it means to evaluate the pros and cons of the solution in the reality to verify what is necessary to do in the next future. The last step will be the procurement perspective. Pilot design to generate real-world evidence, inform future OMC, and call for tender. This is the project phase: assessment, pilot, implementation, open market consultation, call for tender, and contract in the next future. Technically, I have only one slide for this aspect. We need this workflow. Stroke incident, CT scan in the emergency department, storing the data into the PACS, to send the image to the stroke team through AI solutions after analysis of the images and able to support the discussion. It's possible to share imaging and discussion with different profile, different person of the hospital, with the stroke team particularly, and to decide what is the best solution for the patient. To be fast is very important. What are the expected benefits? Secure connection, image transfer, user authentication, analyze stroke imaging. And what I said is important to support the radiologists in the spoke who often lack specific neuroradiologic expertise. It's possible to increase the discussion between clinicians, radiologists, neurologists, technicians, in a certificate way to define the current clinical solution. This is very important because sometimes the connection with by phone, by email, in this case, the AI solution is able to be a very specific network for discussion. Using mobile technology, it is possible to facilitate remote working because neuroradiologists are not necessarily in the hospital. They are around, but they are open to be called. Store all the decision-making step, optimizing clinical decision-making process. Interdisciplinary work is mandatory. This is very important experience for our side. What are the lessons learned? The innovative procurement application in stroke management for emergency interpretation carry out as far as providing valuable insight into how to structure test and scale innovative solution and innovative procurement to address a pressing public need, improving procurement planning, reducing procurement risk, supporting evidence-based purchasing decision. And the key lessons are the following: faster, early cross-functional engagement, procurements, clinicians, and IT, to enable the translations of innovation into scalable procurement contracts. Second step is align pilot timeline with procurement planning, ensuring that results are available in time to inform tender design, budgeting cycle, and internal approval process. Finally, approaches innovation procurement as a progressive learning process. It's not plug and play, but we need the time, we need coordination, and using the pilot is able to build knowledge, test assumptions, and shape tender strategies before full-scale procurement. Use pilot-based validation to better understand the market, reduce procurement risk, and generate real-world evidence to support values-based procurement decision. This is important so that in our project, the pilot is the first step to verify the pros and cons of the activity, to prepare what is the best solution for the clinical network of the stroke. Because at the moment, there is not the perfect doesn't exist, but the possible to increase the possibility to reduce the time of decision of the clinical people involved in the stroke. Thank you. Thank you to Federico Lubner that we discuss this presentation, and I am open to the questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alberto, and congratulations to the whole Lombardy team working on this pilot. It sure will have a lot of impact in the region. So I remind the audience that you can post your questions for Alberto in the Q&A box. And meanwhile, Alberto, I would like to ask you, what have been the biggest challenges that you've encountered so far? And any recommendations on how to address those also for other buyers here?
Yes, the main challenges that is not easy because it's not easy in general to put together different profile in the project or in the reality at all. Is the real world of day by day. But the main, not critical, but we have to solve, for example, the signing the document of the general director for the impact of decisions is one aspect, because general director is the final person that must to sign not only the document, is not bureaucratic, is to have the consensus from the organization, from the budget, to start this project. And it's important to not to spend time, to have the right way to inform the people about the project. This is the first one. The second one, the main important aspect is the system configuration. Overcome with the collaboration of the people involved in the project with different experience in different center, because there is medical doctor, informatics, medical physicist, administrative that authorize the activities. And finally, the management of privacy and data management, which required sharing with the data protection officer, who often do not have adequate awareness of the importance of the project. But the bilateral meetings are able to a tool for solving problems. But this is a very critical aspect, because we need to guarantee the GDPR activity. We need to approach the activity in the field of GDPR reference field. And this is another aspect that we have to solve, to approach correctly and in the right way.
Thank you very much, Alberto. Indeed, alignment of all the stakeholders within big organizations, big public organizations, can be a challenge. Excellent recommendations for the audience here. I see a question in the chat. How does Alberto's innovation procurement journey map onto the pre-commercial procurement and public procurement of innovation tools? For example, are the pilots being implemented through a PCP?
Yes, we are in the level to approach the technical solution. And now we are in the plan, market consultation, and to have the definition of the budget of the project to start in the tender, if will be approved from general director, of course, because this is important.
Yeah. Here, if I may, the pilot that they are rolling out is through InnoMatch, through financial support to third parties that the project is directly providing to the company. So the buyer, in this case, Alberto, benefit from that testing, but the relationship is between InnoMatch and the company, who was awarded through an open call through a selection process.
Of course.
And
open
then
call is important. Vassilis.
Vassilis, perfect.
Yep, just thank you very much for this question. It's also important to clarify the relation between this pilot testing and PCPs. This pilot testing does not replace whatsoever PCPs. This is not the goal of this. We are more close to the area of PPIs. We are talking about ready to be deployed solutions, not solutions that need to be designed and to be designed and developed through R&D. They are all very close to the market. So we are talking about commercialization of these solutions through procurement, through mainly public procurement of innovative solutions. And these pilot testings or proof of concept demonstrations are serving the purpose of a conformance testing prior to a PPI, meaning that the public or private sector buyer, when it comes to the private sector procurement, they want to know if there are solutions that could fit their need. That's why we have, in order to be able to facilitate also the innovation procurements happening, the PPIs, mainly PPIs happening after this pilot test, we have published, that you'll hear later, this module about how to do procurements after this proof of concept demonstrations or pilot tests, any proof of concept demonstration or pilot test. But as Elena said, this proof of concept demonstration or pilot tests are happening in the context of InnoMatch project, where there was also competitive procedure for the selection of these proposals. Having said that, so again, the main message is that PCPs are really important, very important. It's a very unique instrument, but here we are talking about commercial, close to market commercial solutions for deployment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vassilis and Alberto. Let's move on now to the next presentation that will be made by Lucía Jaramillo from Corvers, who was supporting the Belgian Digital Transformation Officer. Lucía, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Elena. Thank you for this kind invitation of InnoMatch and Spin for EIC. So now is 10:32. Let's go quickly through the presentation. Through Spin for EIC, we have been supporting the Belgian federal public service, especially on the digital transformation. And my purpose of today is share with you the steps that we have followed preparing the innovation procurement projects. But first of all, let's look at the introduction of the Federal Public Service from BOSA. This is from Belgium. And this Federal Public Service assists the government and support all the federal organizations in different areas, from IT to human resources, organizational control, integrity policy, budget, accounting, and public procurement. The FPS office is the result of the integration of several services that keeps the general context of the redesign of the federal administration launched by the government in 2014. So what triggered the needs from BOSA? We have two projects under Spin for EIC that have received assistance. The first one is related to the need of having an artificial intelligence marketplace. So the possibility of finding different types of tools, artificial intelligence tools and services, including some consultancy and training services for the different agencies, for the different departments of BOSA. In this context, they follow the EAFIP methodology with support initially from EAFIP and then from Spin for EIC. Specifically for Spin for EIC, we focus on the business case development and the support in the drafting the tender documents for the artificial intelligence marketplace. In the case of cybersecurity, we work together on a project comprising several lots, and we conducted the EAFIP methodology focusing on needs identification and assessment on those 7 lots, market analysis, open market consultations, business case developing, and now we are supporting the drafting of the tender documents. As you can see in the slide, we have the EAFIP methodology with this step-by-step approach that helped us tackle complex projects, looking from the needs assessment to the state-of-the-art analysis, open market consultations, business case, and then developing the procurement strategy based on the findings, based on the needs of the contracting authorities, in order to create a procedure that is aligned with the objectives, that contains the provisions on intellectual property rights, on specific the conditions for the award of the contract, etc. In the case of BOSA, we have completed the steps of needs assessment, open market consultation, and we're working, finalizing the business case, and in the procurement strategy, we started doing this. The assistance is tailored to each of the cases based on the EAFIP methodology, as I mentioned, and on the best practice on innovation procurement. And how do we do it? We work together throughout video calls, to one-to-one meetings, email support, and looking at different documents. Let's go first to the case on cybersecurity. In the case of cybersecurity, we conducted the steps up to the market consultation and business case. We focus on 3 of the 7 lots that comprise the mixed service contract that is try to purchase different tools and services for information security within the federal administration and in compliance also with the NIS Directive 2. The focus of our systems was on the lot 1 on pen testing services, lot 2 bug bounty services, and the lot 4 on the purchase of the development security tools. The aim of BOSA is to launch the tender in 2026. At the moment, they are revising all the different findings from the previous activities. So what have we done? What have we done in the context of the assistance? With these 3 lots, we describe the needs assessment. In the needs assessment, the solution as it is. So what is the baseline of the solution, and what is the wish situation? What is that they wanted to achieve with these different services of pen testing, bounty lots, and different tools. In order to do the market analysis, once we have the use cases developed in each of the different targets of the services, we perform a state-of-the-art analysis. Since these technologies are closer to the market, we look at the market to identify the different companies, the different market players that will provide these services. With this information, we design an open market consultation document together with BOSA, explaining the challenge, the use cases, and the rules of the market consultation, the activities that were comprised, including the webinar, e-pitching sessions, the request for information in a questionnaire using the EU survey tool. Of course, we published a pin on TED to inform the market and did some outreach activities in order to target, for example, EIC beneficiaries and other potential interested parties. So we had an interesting reaction from the market. A lot of participants in the OMC of these different lots. And we had a lot to process, so to prepare also for the tender. In that regard, well, mainly for the choice of procedure, for this tender is an open procedure with a framework agreement with potential different suppliers. For us, it was very important to start with the definition of the functional requirements that could also have an impact on the selection and award criteria and the evaluation schemes that we will implement. Very important aspect is that in this contract, it's one of the tools that we will use is the incentive for continuous improvements, especially for these framework agreements, through value engineering clauses requesting innovations, innovative aspects in the delivery of the service periodically. Also, IPR considerations for the distribution, the friendly distribution of IPR, so to incentivize more innovation, and of course, milestones and monitoring for the good contract management. In the case of the marketplace, artificial intelligence marketplace, we carried out the steps on the needs assessment, state-of-the-art analysis, and market consultation in the context of the EAFIP assistance, and in the context of Spin4IC, we focus on business case development, drafting tender document, and conducting these informal consultative workshops as additional assistance. The results of the market consultation were really interesting. Not only market operators participate, but also we have developed a survey for end users in the federal government that could provide some insights and some more information of the needs that they have regarding the potential services and tools of artificial intelligence for their work. In total, 33 agencies and organizations participated, providing feedback that needs to be processed to really translate these also into the tender documents. But the main purpose of the marketplace is to provide different services in a centralized manner. And the objective was also to have a sort of broker to maintain relationship with the AI vendors and provide these brokerage for the federal Belgian government, prioritizing security and compliance with the infrastructure for the deployments, also allowing the cloud computing and data storage. As part of the services, they also look for support, especially in the legal and ethical aspects of the implementation of such projects, and also the consultation component of the project aims that both the IE vendors and the AI vendors and the public sector would refine and would continuously improve the services. The aim of BOSA in this case was to position itself as the leader in coordinating AI procurement and foster innovation across the different government operations, supporting themselves with effective tools that also are founded in ethical and transparent ways of delivering the service. I will finalize. I will just mention that the assistance is ongoing with regard to tender documents, analyzing the possibility of available, whether it's an open procedure or a competitive one. In principle, we have set the idea of the framework agreement with some mini competitions for the delivery of the services with roles and responsibilities clearly defined for the different stakeholders. Finally, just to conclude and give you some time for questions, I would like to stress that innovation, the road to innovation, it requires good preparation, always allocate enough time and commitment from contracting authorities, from the teams, from the decision-making leaders within the organizations. It is very important to have this step-by-step structured approach. That's why we follow the AFIP methodology. So to have a complex project, let's say, cut in little pieces with exit ways also to mitigate risk. We find that market consultations, the engagement with the market is fundamental. We have received many insights that really help fine-tune the procurement, perhaps in some cases reshape the initial ideas and the initial plans of the procurement. Also based on the business case, we really see that by analyzing the cost and benefits, the project can obtain the green light and really provide some benefits, both qualitative and quantitative, analyzing the value of the project and the investment that is going to be done. The drafting of the tender documents, choosing the best procurement strategy is also sometimes challenging, but is a really rewarding process in the sense that there are a lot of discussions, also understanding how the IPR, the intellectual property rights, are going to define, how the functional requirements need to be expressed, how we use these selection and award criteria to get the best value of the offers. And of course, the contract management is fundamental because this is how the actual objectives of the procurement are going to be achieved. So with that, I thank you very much, and I open the floor for questions. Thank you, Elena.
Thank you, Ana Lucía, and congratulations on the achievements with BOSA. They are really impressive. I would like to ask you, because I know that you also do a lot of preparation work with the buyers. So how did you help them to actually build a business case?
Yes, how do we do that? We have our team, a business team that helps them with the methodology to analyze certain aspects. Perhaps I can show you my screen. Let me see if I can for a little bit stop and show you. But as part of the methodology, our team developed some matrices that are useful for gathering information that is important. So by using these tools in Excel, we perform this cost-benefit analysis with information that is gathered from the end users, in this case from BOSA, the teams of BOSA, to understand what are the drawbacks, what are the benefits. Let's see if you can see the benefits and also the risks. There's an assessment, the risks, the impact, the likelihood of occurrence of these risks, but also the benefits that new solutions or innovative solutions are going to provide to the organization, and estimating the costs. So, and understanding what are the costs at the moment, and what are the savings, for example, in some cases, but also the value, both quantitative and qualitative, of the being able to implement such solutions. And a positive business case is where the benefits are bigger or higher than the actual costs when you analyze these scenarios of procuring or not procuring. So this is just to give you an idea of how we gather the information and how this is done by working together with the public authority, the end users in obtaining this information on drawbacks, benefits, risks, costs, and the actual, processing of this data to have a final business case. I hope this answers this question.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Ana Lucía, and congratulations again for the work. I see a question on the Q&A box asking whether we will explain the process that buyers should follow to release their procurement call, and for the process that suppliers need to follow to apply. Indeed, in the next presentations, we're going to provide an overview of the procurement instruments that could be used after a pilot or proof of concept. So without further ado, I would like to invite Spyrangelos from Corvers to explain a little bit more about the Spring for EIC assistance and also these key considerations related to proof of concepts and pilot testing. Spyrangelos, the floor is yours.
So, good morning from my side as well. I will present briefly the assistance that we provide to public buyers through Spring for EIC. I will pass the slide a bit faster because I want to focus actually on the key considerations related to proof of concept and pilot testing. So the agenda for today's session is, first of all, we'll talk about the Spring for EIC assistance to public buyers, and then we will try to define a bit the notions of proof of concept, prototype, and pilot testing. And finally, we'll end up with different procurement scenarios that can include pilot testing and can encompass follow-up public procurement procedures as well. So in general, we use a three-step methodology in Spin for EIC program. First of all, we have different calls for 4+1 types of assistance. Now we have a flexible open call permanently open. You will find the link directly to it at the end of the presentation. The second step is the selection of the public buyers that they apply. They're just based on their application, and once we get the green light, then we proceed with the actual assistance. In general, we try to assist public buyers throughout the whole tender preparation process to enhance their capacity to purchase innovative solutions. And of course, the assistance is adjustable, and it is determined on a case-by-case basis after we have various meetings with public buyers that are interested in it and eligible to it. The different types of assistance are, first of all, the identification and assessment of needs. Then it is followed up with building of a business case. Perhaps in some other cases, that's why we have the additional assistance. There can be a SOTA or market analysis. The third type of assistance is the conducting of an open market consultation and all the activities that it contains. And then finally, it's the assistance with the drafting of the tender document. Of course, as Anna presented, and also the region of Lombardy, we have showcased the different types of assistance and how, from a more practical perspective, are offered to the public buyers. The only thing to keep in mind is that the non-eligible public buyers are the ones that trying to prepare proposals for Horizon Europe goals and projects, and that already receiving in any manner EU funding for the same activities, because it's the double funding prohibition that there is. And now let's move forward with the main, the core aspect of this presentation. First of all, I would like to mention that you can find all this information in more detail in the chapter 8 of the EIC Innovation Procurement Toolkit. I have also included a link in this presentation for you to go there and read it and study it more in detail at your own convenience. So what is testing and piloting? In general, testing and piloting are structured experiments at early or mid-stage development. And testing and piloting offer benefits for both demand and the supply side. From one side, they enable contracting authorities to validate a proposed solution to try and verify whether a solution, technological solution, meet their needs. And from the other side, the innovators have the opportunity to refine their technologies in response to real feedback and come in contact with potential buyers and solutions. Of course, the key notions that we will explain in this presentation include proof of concept, prototypes, and pilot testing. A key question here is whether the aforementioned activities fall within the scope of research and development activities, or whether they already constitute procurement of goods and services under the European Union procurement directives. The distinction matters because research and development services can, under certain conditions, be exempted from the full application of the procurement rules. And additionally, under the World Trade Organization Government Procurement Agreement, the R&D services do not include commercial development of activities. And this is something important that we want to underline here, that pilot testing and proof of concept and prototype testing should be separated. It's a distinct process from the commercial development activities and public procurement itself. And in general, the choice of procurement procedure affects the flexibility and transparency level. And this is something that we will showcase in the slide with the different procurement scenarios. And also, I would like to mention that these processes, the processes of proof of concept and pilot testing, they include and they involve risks in place, because the suppliers that are involved in a proof of concept or a pilot testing may acquire privileged knowledge and information. So for this reason, it is really important that the contracting authority mitigate these risks and takes all the necessary measures to safeguard compliance with the treaties or the principles of Treaty of Functioning of the European Union, meaning the principle of transparency, equal treatment, and non-discrimination. And also, the contracting authority needs to safeguard that there are no conflicts of interest and in any way distortion of competition between the different parties and suppliers that are in the market. So what is a proof of concept? In general, a proof of concept is a notion that has been dealt with in academic literature and in various scientific sectors. In some cases, it is not defined at all, or in some other cases, it is poorly defined from a literature review that we have conducted. And there is an overuse of this term for anything new. So it is really important to provide clarity in order to avoid becoming overly broad when we utilize this particular definition. The definition that we have used in our chapter of the EIC Innovation Procurement Toolkit is a definition provided by NASA. Of course, it developed throughout the years since its first appearance in 1967. And now proof of concept is defined based on the NASA's Technological Assessment Guide as analytical and experimental demonstration of hardware or software concepts that may or may not be incorporated into subsequent development and or operational units. In general, some characteristics of the proof of concept based on this guidance document from NASA is that it's small in scale, limited in scope, and not necessarily complete. We have a really nice example within the toolkit that showcases, for example, that testing the technical feasibility of a single battery cell can be, for example, a proof of concept experiment. It demonstrates the practical potential of a particular technology or a particular technological solution without full development, of course. And once more, based on the guidance document, it typically corresponds to technologies at the TRL level 2 to 4. You will hear more about the technology readiness level scale from Fiorela in her presentation. And proof of concept can be funded via grant, supplier investment, or procurement of R&D services. So there are different ways to fund proof of concept. And I would like to mention also proof of value, which is another interesting term that we find, and sometimes it is linked with proof of concept. And while the proof of concept proves the technical feasibility or viability of a concept or of an idea, proof of value evaluates in a measurable way the added value for various stakeholders that can occur from that idea, from that concept to begin with. Overall, we can understand that the role of proof of concept and of prototypes and pilots that we will explain in a moment are critical in general in innovation and innovation procurement. And it's an integral step before major investments and resource commitment, both from the contracting authorities and from the suppliers as well. And as I mentioned before, it helps suppliers to validate their ideas and to align their solutions with the market needs. Now I will move forward with prototypes and pilot testing. We have utilized in the chapter 8 of the EIC Innovation Toolkit the Frascati Manual and the Oslo Manual as our guide in order to define these terms. First of all, based on the Frascati Manual, I would like to give you the definition of a prototype, which is an original model constructed to include all the technical and performance characteristics of the new product. And in general, the design, construction, and testing of a prototype falls under the R&D activities. R&D ends once modifications are complete and testing is successful, and this is important because, as I mentioned before, based on the classification of an activity, if it falls under R&D or if it doesn't fall under R&D, we know the regulatory framework that we need to apply in each particular case. And here, the Oslo Manual mentions as well that for a prototype to count as an innovation, it must be implemented. Implementation is a key term that is mentioned in that manual, and it should be also made accessible to different users. And typically, prototypes based on the consensus of the academic literature and Oslo and Frascati Manual, they correspond to TRL levels 4 to 7, ranging from validation to demonstration in relevant, we could say, lab or sandbox environments, and operational environments as well at a later stage of their development. And what is a pilot now? A pilot is a small-scale preliminary study to test feasibility, duration, cost, risks, and operational issues around a technological solution that has been developed and it has a greater level of maturity. It is part of R&D, but only if it is used to gather data to refine hypothesis specifications, processor equipment, and we can understand that also from the Public Procurement Directive and the Article 32 that I will comment in a moment, and Fiorela will delve deeper into in her next presentation. But once this initial process of pilot testing expires, in order to see if this pilot is feasible and we test its duration, its cost, and potential risks, it does no longer belong into the R&D activities category. And that's why we need to distinguish between pilot testing and the follow-up procurement procedures. And here you can see the different procurement scenarios that we have included in Chapter 8 of our EIC Innovation Procurement Toolkit. We have made an analysis of the different ways that the contracting authority can utilize the existing regulatory and legal framework in order to be able to pilot test a solution and then follow up in a legally appropriate manner with the follow-up commercial development activities. You can see that we have different axes in our analysis. First of all, we have created the different levels of transparency scale. Each scenario has a different level of transparency that allows suppliers to participate in this procedure. And these transparency levels are directly linked with the competition level that is allowed under each particular procedure. Some of those scenarios allow for a greater degree of competition, and they are more open to the market and to different suppliers, while others have a lower level of transparency and competition, and they involve risks that may be the non-compliance with the Treaty of Functioning of the European Union principles, or in general the fact that there will be some distortion in the level of the competition. I would like to mention indicatively some of those scenarios. First of all, we have the open procedure with a framework agreement covering also pilot testing and potential deployment. This is by far the most transparent procurement tool at the disposal of contracting authorities under EU law. And here, the approach involves launching an open call in which the authority specifies critical aspects of the pilot testing requirements ex ante, like the scope, performance criteria, testing environment, and it also establishes budgetary ceilings for both the pilot and the potential subsequent purchases. It also sets volume parameters such as the maximum number of units or the scale of probable deployment and conditions for transition from pilot to rollout. So through the utilization of a framework agreement, the authority can avoid launching a new procurement procedure after successful testing. Of course, the framework predefines all these different aspects that we have mentioned. And that's why, despite its benefits, like legal certainty and competitive fairness, it has also a degree of complexity because the contracting authority needs to anticipate several contractual elements up front, which is really difficult in highly complex environment such as the fast-moving technological fields that involve all these solutions. But nonetheless, it remains one of the most transparent scenarios. Also, we have the scenario 2A and 2B, where pilot testing can be part of the pre-commercial procurement process, followed by public procurement of innovative solutions. And as you know, the public procurement of innovative solutions fall under the scope of the directives of the European Union. So different procedures can be used there based on the procurement strategy of the contracting authority. Fiorela will delve deeper into the different procedures under the directives. Also, in the scenario 2B, pilot testing can take place under a specific article that there is in the Public Procurement Directive, which is the Article 32 3A. And this article is important because it allows contracting authorities to use the negotiated procedure without prior publication for contracts where the products are manufactured purely for research, experimentation, study, or development, provided that the contract does not include production aimed at commercial viability or cost recovery. And this is the main limitation of this article, but it allows pilot testing under the framework, under the scope of the directives. And once more, this pilot testing can be followed by public procurement of innovative solutions through different procedures that are provided by the directives. In the scenarios 3A and B, we have once more the first step, pilot testing, either as part of pre-commercial procurement procedure or under the article that I have just mentioned, which is the Article 32 3A, that includes pilot testing, but with a limitation that we have mentioned. And then after the pilot testing is over, a procurement procedure can follow under in a less transparent way under the Article 32 2B of the Public Procurement Directive, which is a negotiated procedure without prior publication for reasons of technical exclusivity or intellectual property right justifications. But as I mentioned, it's a less transparent procedure and it needs really well documented information from the side of the contracting authority and also really solid justification in order to utilize this negotiated procedure without prior publication. Otherwise, there is also the option, as I mentioned, to utilize, first of all, Article 32 instead of public procurement of procedure, and then this negotiated procedure without prior publication. But scenario 3B is really risky from our perspective, and it has a level of transparency which is really low and a really low level of competition. And finally, there are scenarios 4 and 5, where POC or pilot testing can be financed through third-party grants, followed by a public procurement of innovative solution, and then the selection of the appropriate procedure to run that PPI. In general, this additional operational configuration of pilot testing concerns pilot projects financed through third-party grant funding, or are implemented within programs specifically designed to support the experimentation of innovative solutions. And here I would like to present InnoMatch as one of those programs that fall under this scenario in this category. There is a high level of transparency, and the level of competition varies from medium to high depending on which follow-up procedure will be selected by the contracting authority. And finally, we have scenario 5 as well, which is a quite flexible scenario, we could say, where the proof of concept and pilot testing is financed directly by the supplier in a specific framework and in, let's say, coordination with the contracting authority after a call for expression of interest from the demand side, followed, of course, after the completion of the pilot testing by a PPI, a public procurement of innovative procedures. And to close my presentation, some key takeaways that you could take with you after this session. First of all, proof of concept and pilot testing strengthen the market readiness of the public buyer. And we have mentioned the reasons why contracting authorities and suppliers can benefit from those processes and this kind of experimentation, let's say, at an early or mid development stage. We need to separate pilot testing from public procurement procedure. They are two distinct processes, two distinct frameworks, and we need to keep that in mind. Also, contracting authorities need to ensure compliance with the overarching principles of the Treaty of Functioning of the European Union. And no matter if we're talking about R&D activities or commercial development activities, we need to keep in mind that the principles are applicable in both cases. Therefore, transparency levels should be high, and the documentation, really well documentation, is essential in order to maintain this high level of transparency. And of course, we need to keep in mind that a contracting authority needs to respect equal treatment and non-discrimination, ensuring a fair level of competition between all suppliers in the market. And finally, there are issues like conflict of interest or like the utilization of privileged information that need to be tackled by the contracting authority. It is really nice, exciting to have a plan on how to mitigate these risks. Thank you very much for your attention, and I have also a link below where you can find the assistance provided to public buyers by Spin4EIC, and also the EIC Innovation Procurement Toolkit, where you can find all this information that I am presenting in more detail. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Spyrangelos. Those links will be also circulated together with the slides. So let's move on now to the next presentation, and we will take the questions at the end of the session. So the next speaker is Fiorela Tamburrelli, and she will present the guidance document that InnoMatch has prepared to support InnoMatch buyers to select the right procedure after piloting in InnoMatch. So Fiorela, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Elena. Hi, everyone. I think you see my screen. Welcome. I'm Fiorela Tamburrelli, a procurement expert at ICLEI Europe. ICLEI is one of the partners of the InnoMatch consortium. And today I would like to introduce you the guidance document that we developed within the InnoMatch program. For what concerns the content of this document brings together the main frequently asked question on innovation procurement relating to the InnoMatch, with the aim of providing public buyers with a clear and accessible overview on innovation procurement, and so what is and why it's worth pursuing, clarifying its added value in addressing complex public needs. It also illustrates how innovation procurement is embedded in the InnoMatch project, and finally outlines the procurement procedure that are most suitable to follow up on the pilot and proof of concept cases developed within the InnoMatch program. I would like to focus on the last 2 points. So the first one is how is innovation procurement connecting to InnoMatch? First of all, InnoMatch is an European action grant funded under the EIC Innovation Procurement Program, supporting private and public buyers, as you know, in testing innovative solutions. The most important things to highlight in this case is that the public and the buyers can receive more information on the most suitable procedure to adopt after the InnoMatch program during the last phase of the program, which is called the assessment phase. Indeed, during this phase, we are going to develop a post-pilot adoption plan to support the buyers who are the buyers to identify the most suitable procurement pathway. It's important to highlight that the guidance document is mainly focused on the public buyers because they are the ones subject to the public procurement regulation. So we are going to highlight in this way that no innovation procurement procedure is implemented within the InnoMatch program. Indeed, after the 12 months InnoMatch program, public buyers, because we are focused today on the public one, may proceed with the adoption of the solution developed during the program through a specific public procurement procedure. Before to talk a bit on which are the suitable procedure after the InnoMatch program, it's important to introduce a bit the Tier L. The Tier L are the technology readiness level, which indicate the maturity of a solution following research and development activities. The choice of the most suitable procurement procedure indeed depend on the maturity level of the pilot or proof of concept results achieved under the end of the program. As the program, as explained at the beginning of this webinar, include a 6 months period for testing a pilot or a POC, there is a limited time to significantly increase the Tier L. For this reason, the initial technology readiness level of the solution to be tested should not be too low, and this justify some particular procedure to choose after the InnoMatch program rather than the other. Indeed, the possible, like this, the most suitable procedure to adopt after the InnoMatch program are the one relating to solution market ready. Indeed, in this case, there are the different available procurement option, and what makes the different in this stage is how clearly the contracting authorities is able to refine its technical specification. So the first one are the option ready for the market, where the specification are clear. So the standardized procedure, such as the open or restrictive procedure, can be used. In specific case, a negotiated procedure with the pilot publication for utility sector may also apply, where the negotiated procedure without prior publication under Article 32 remain an exception and can be used under the strict conditions set out in Article 32, apart the one mentioned by Spyrangelos before relating to the research purpose. So, and I will explain the next slide in detail. In this case, I'm more talking on exception like where no tenders or no where no tenders or no suitable tenders have been submitted in response to a prior open or restricted procedure, or when for reason of extreme urgency, for example, about events unforeseeable by the contracting authorities, the time for open, restricted, or competitive open restricted procedure is not allowed with the timeline. So in this case, if the solution is market ready, these are the most suitable procedure if the specifications are clear. Then if the specification should be refined, then we can opt for competitive dialogue, which is one of the public procurement for innovative procedure. This is suitable when technical specification cannot be defined in advance. and market engagement is necessary. When the solution is market ready but addressed a niche need, and it's important to refine and adapt the offer for contracting authorities, then the other PPI procedure as the competitive procedure with negotiation could be also an option. In the specific case, in the specific case, after the InnoMatch program, since we have already mentioned that the starting TRL should not be too low, it may happen that a solution still needs some refinement, even if this is not the ideal scenario. But it can be happen that another type of PPI procedure like the innovation partnership is required to refine a bit some research and development activities before the solution is ready to be commercialized. In this regard, an innovation partnership could be an option, and this is a potential procedure that combined both the research and development activities and acquisition phase, and the contracting authority act as the first customer. The other type is the another scenario can be if after the pilot or POC the solution should be adopted such only for research purposes. In this case, a negotiated procedure without prior publication just for this reason can be an option, and is applicable for contract involving products developed exclusively for experimentation, study, or development purposes. This is just an high-level overview of the main procurement procedure. For a deeper understanding of each procurement procedure, please refer to the dedicated guidance document. I will show you the QR code to scan it. The guidance document provide you more information on this. In any case, we can advise as InnoMatch consortium during the last phase of the InnoMatch program what will be the most suitable acquisition procedure to adopt while we are developing the post-pilot adoption plan. Just as the last thing to mention is that it can happen also that you have already launched an open market consultation, so you know already what are the conditions available on the market, what are the solutions available on the market, and otherwise you can also consider to launch an open market consultation. Here the QR code I mentioned before, the general email. If you have any question, don't hesitate to contact us. And yeah, I'll stop here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fiorella. So just as a final note, those InnoMatch buyers, the ones that enter in the program, will receive tailored assistance to develop their post-pilot adoption plan. And there we're going to support you to select the right instrument depending on your characteristics. Thanks so much. So without further ado, I would like to invite our final, but not least important speaker, Yannis Zormpas. He will present the initiative from DG Grow, the Innovation Procurement Hubs. So I would like to give him the floor to explain a little bit more how public buyers can benefit from this initiative. So the floor is yours, Yannis.
Hello, everybody. My name is Yannis Zormpas. I'm a principal in the Boston Consulting Group in Athens, and I'm the project lead for Innovation Procurement Hubs, which, as mentioned by Elena, is an initiative by DG Grow and ACMEA jointly. To start a little bit with what we are trying to do with the Innovation Procurement Hubs program, we are essentially building 4 key elements. The first is we're building an innovation procurement ecosystem map, trying to map who is who across the European Economic Area in terms of innovation procurement from the demand side, not the supply side, understand who are the public buyers, and also who are what we call the ecosystem enablers in innovation procurement, including, for example, competence centers, innovation challenge platforms, funding agencies, academia, industry associations, and everybody who in some way might affect the framework for innovation procurement, mostly focusing on PPI, but also considering pre-commercial procurement as well. The reason why we're doing this mapping, of course, is not just to understand who are the players, but also document what are the best practices, and also what are the key issues that organizations currently face in adopting innovation procurement as a process and as a framework for procuring innovative products and solutions. On the demand side, again, we're talking about public buyers. The second one is we are designing support packages and peer-to-peer exchanges for public authorities. Both of these advisory packages and exchanges are meant, first of all, to support these authorities in addressing the issues I mentioned before as they emerge from the ecosystem mapping, and create, let's say, ways, processes, frameworks, mechanisms, templates to overcome these challenges and start implementing innovation procurement. Also, to create a little bit of networking, to give the opportunity to public authorities to connect with one another, harmonize to the extent possible, but also learn from the examples, the lessons learned, and the successes or even the challenges of other public buyers across Europe who have been a little bit more experienced in innovation procurement. The third is we are building a community of practice with people from these organizations, where, first of all, we can communicate what's happening in the project, in the program, give them a little bit of an understanding of the resources, the surveys, the tools, and the insights we have from the program, but also allow them to connect with one another and get a little bit more familiar. Of course, the objective here is that even after we are done with the program, the community of practice will remain, and it will become a community where people can connect with each other and start exchanging challenges, best practices, tools, and ideas. The fourth element is what we call the strategy and the project plan for a future co-publishing space. DG CRO wants to understand if there is an opportunity to create a dedicated publishing platform for innovation challenges, for innovation procurement challenges, separate from the typical procurement portals that you have either at the national or the EU level, like TED, and has asked us as part of this program to create different options of what this co-publishing space might include, either in terms of use cases, what people can use this co-publishing space to do, or features, right? What kind of tools we are embedding in this platform to allow people to use this platform accordingly. Again, this is just a design. This is for allowing the European Commission to decide what kind of option it wants to move on with. And according to that option, we will also create a project plan so that the platform, this co-publishing space, can be implemented in the future. Now, why are we doing all this, right? We know that there are structural issues both on the demand and the supply side on innovation procurement. On the one hand, we have public administrations that generally are a little bit more risk averse. They are a little bit slow in taking up innovation procurement as a practice because, first of all, of issues that have to do with how they understand innovation procurement being aligned with their targets, with the innovation strategy, with the growth strategy of each country or region. And also because typically there is a rather constraining legal framework, there is little consistency in funding and financing of innovation procurement, and there are generally challenges in how they engage both with public authorities internally, but also with suppliers to engage in innovation procurement. So our aim here is to help them address these challenges, increase the uptake of innovation within public administrations, improve the quality of public services, of course, through this innovation procurement, but also align with needs expressed at the societal level, both within their own context, their own national or regional context, but also across countries, right? On the other hand, we do know that for innovative suppliers, especially startups and SMEs, participating in public procurement is especially challenging, both from a perspective of knowledge and experience of how to do so, but also resources. It's quite intensive, it's quite complex, it's quite bureaucratic. So what we're trying to do is also create a framework that allows them to participate with reduced overhead, have processes that are simpler, more straightforward, and with less pure variations. We want to improve their access to that public procurement by giving them visibility on what opportunities are out there without the noise that exists right now and the volume of different procurement initiatives that are not innovation related. And of course, help them connect to the wider ecosystem in a closer way, understand who are the other stakeholders in play, either on the supply side, but most importantly, on the buy side. Now, in terms of what support we are providing, as I mentioned before, we have identified 17 key issues that are the most pervasive for innovation procurement across the different countries we have surveyed. We have prioritized these issues, and based on these 17 issues, we have defined a support offering, which consists, as I mentioned before, from 18 different advisory packages, essentially modules of direct consulting support to address these issues in different organizations in different countries. And on the other hand, we have what we call peer-to-peer exchanges, which are essentially physical and virtual engagements for peer knowledge sharing between public buyers across different countries. We also have set up an expression of interest system with a survey, which is essentially the gateway through which authorities that are interested in receiving this kind of support in either form can essentially come in and tell us what they're interested in. First of all, which of these types of support, what are the issues that they're trying to address, and what are their priorities, their preferences, and their perception about the root causes, right? We want to understand what might be relevant for them out of the 18, for example, advisory packages, but also what the scope and the focus of this advisory support should be. What are the problems that we are trying to solve? And based on, of course, these requests, we create a pipeline for support, and we engage beneficiaries either to provide the direct advisory consulting or to engage them in the peer-to-peer exchange. In terms of the packages that I mentioned before, the modules that I mentioned before, they are 18, and they cover 7 different areas, 7 different themes. There are packages that have to do with what we call strategic alignment and planning. So essentially packages that have to do with how we integrate innovation procurement in a national or regional growth and innovation strategy, and how we translate that strategy integration into specific targets and specific plans for innovation procurement initiatives within an organization. We have packages that have to do with governance and organizational design, how we set up decision-making for innovation procurement, approvals, inputs, outputs, how people and organizations collaborate, and of course, how we need to set up in terms both of the organizational structure, but also operating model, units that have the mandate or the authority to conduct innovation procurement. And of course, collaboration framework, how such units collaborate with each other to make sure that the process is quick and efficient. We have packages under financial planning and access to funding, essentially creating a framework through which interested organizations can understand what kind of funding is available at the EU level or at the national level and how they can source it and how they can use these funds to plan the financial resources available and to create a budget for innovation procurement. We have the legal and procedural enablement that has modules related to legal and regulatory framework for innovation procurement, but also process documentation or even process redesign and leaning to make innovation procurement processes simpler, more efficient, more effective. We have one support package specifically for market engagement, how public buyers can more adequately communicate innovation challenges and engage innovative suppliers, especially those on the smaller scale, startups and SMEs. And then we have also modules on what we call enablers. First of all, capability and culture development, how we help managers in public buyers, leadership positions, change their mindset about what innovation procurement is, what it's trying to achieve, and how it differs from traditional procurement, and also creating what we call innovation procurement training framework, understanding the skill gaps of units that want to conduct innovation procurement, and creating a plan and a framework for how to address these skill gaps and how to develop the capabilities in their staff. And of course, the two final modules on the tools and infrastructure part, a template suite for innovation procurement, essentially documents and templates that can be ready to use for specific organizations and specific legal frameworks, and the design for a shared workspace for all roles and units relevant to innovation procurement processes, so that instead of handovers, they can collaborate in a more streamlined and more direct way. Finally, I'll just give a little bit of an overview of what the co-publishing space design is about. As I mentioned before, this is about a platform that we want to function end-to-end across the value chain of innovation procurement. So our vision is for it to become a digital one-stop shop for both buyers and suppliers in the European Economic Area, in publishing, in accessing, and in collaborating on innovation challenges, all the way from identifying the social needs that need to be met through innovation to the deployment of solutions after procurement. That purpose is essentially underpinned by 5 objectives. First of all, visibility. We want to make innovation procurement activity findable and understandable from both sides in one space across the European Economic Area. Second, harmonization. We want to make this a tool through which public buyers align on their innovation procurement practices, processes, and rules across countries. The third is collaboration. We want to help public buyers collaborate across borders and across sectors to co-publish, that's part of the name, co-publish similar challenges and create what we call a digital environment for common interaction between buyers themselves, between suppliers themselves for collaboration in specific tenders, and between buyers and suppliers across the line. The fourth is capacity building. We want to use this platform also as a tool to accelerate the development of skills for public buyers and for suppliers, and boost confidence in engaging in the process of innovation procurement through simple, intuitive workflows and design. And finally, we want to use it as a lever for improvement. Essentially, we want to use this platform as a paradigm to evolve the framework for innovation procurement through monitoring and data that we capture on the success, the speed, the efficiency of innovation procurement processes run through the platform. Understand where we have issues with platforms or where the issues are process related or regulatory in nature. That's it from my side. What you can do if you're interested, especially if you are a public buyer or a public authority, is to join our community of practice. I will share the link in the chat right now. And also in there, you can also find the relevant link for the expression of interest in case you want to make sure that you are interested in this kind of support and you would like to request either advisory or participation in peer-to-peer exchanges. Feel free to share your interest, and we will get going from there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Yannis, for this comprehensive presentation. Well, Yannis, I would like to ask you. So you presented different support packages that you are offering in the innovation procurement hubs. So what would you recommend to procurers who are actually starting to build their innovation procurement strategy? What would be the right combination of services to choose?
So thank you for the question. There is no single recommendation. It really depends on what are the issues that an organization really has in terms of implementing innovation procurement. And that's why we have this kind of expression of interest survey, right? Because having a cookie cutter solution for everyone would be not very successful in addressing the specific issues and root causes for each organization. Of course, that being said, we have defined these 18 packages, right? And this has been done by prioritizing some of the issues out of the 35 issues we identified. Said there are 17, so half of them, which are pretty common. They were affecting at least 40% of the organizations that participated in the survey. And that was the criterion of how we assessed what is common versus what is less common as an issue, right? But of course, we do know that not all of them have the same issues. It depends on maturity, it depends on context. It depends also on priorities on what they want to achieve through innovation procurement. So it's really, really important for people to go into that expression of interest survey, think about what are the actual issues they have, think about what is causing those issues. They will have choices to select from. And that will give them a range of specific support packages that are relevant to their own context. It won't list all 18, unless, of course, you say, I'm affected by all issues, right? But if you only choose 1 or 2 or 3 issues that are really the ones that are the most important, it will show you 3 or 4 or 5 modules applicable to your situation. And those you will also be asked to prioritize. So we ask you to, if you see the support packages, which one do you feel will allow you to most successfully address the issues that you have right now? And that actually is the recommendation from our side on where we feel you need to focus your scope of support.
Excellent answer. Thanks so much, Yannis. So I invite all attendees to click on the link that we share in the chat if you would like to find out more about this initiative, and the colleagues from the Innovation Procurement Hubs will follow up. Then I would like to ask a question to Fiorela. So basically, you presented different adoption instruments that the InnoMatch public buyers can choose from, depending on whether the solution that they seek is already market ready or need further research and development. So what I would like to ask you, Fiorela, is when do you think would be the right time for our InnoMatch public buyers to start thinking about the adoption instrument that they would need to use?
Yes, Elena. I believe the key point is to know this as soon as market information becomes available. And of course, having like the ready market solution can help. So in this case, the case of InnoMatch, if during the final phase of the program, the assessment phase, the public buyers recognize that the solution is quite near to be commercialized. Of course, they can be advised, so they can ask this information during this phase to understand which procedure would be the best one to choose, and another period of time during which they can understand which type of a procedure would be the best option is if they already launched an open market consultation, so they are aware about the possible solution on the market, and they can consider which are the procurement procedure according the solution available on the market and the maturity of this one.
Thank you so much, Fiorela. And finally, a question for Spyrangelos. So we have a question in the Q&A box regarding the two concepts that you explained, the proof of concept and the pilot. So could you clarify on the differences?
Yes, of course. I see the question and it says structure experiments during early and mid stage of development. Of course, we mean new technological and innovative solutions. But in general, there is a really nice example in the EIC Innovation Procurement Toolkit that explains the differences between proof of concept, prototypes, and pilots. For example, we have a city that they want to have some electrical buses and they want to find a way to charge them in a fast manner. So first of all, we start with the proof of concept. There is a supplier, let's say. Let's forget about the procedural part right now, and let's focus on the concepts of proof of concept, prototype, and pilot. So we have a supplier that says that we have the solution to your problem, and they try to experiment with a single cell of a battery, and they try to see if that single cell is technically feasible and viable to fast as charge as they claim in order to create then afterwards through the prototype stage a full-scale battery where they can test in a specific number of buses, electrical buses, let's say, and then we go to the pilot where those buses can take passengers and they can have short journeys within the city in a real-life environment. And this solution, apart from its technical feasibility now, it can be tested for its effectiveness. They can check the budget, the costs, weather conditions, and a series of other aspects related to the solution itself. You can read the chapter, you can read the whole journey of an idea passing through the proof of concept validation to the prototype and to the pilot testing aspect within the toolkit. And I think it will become really clear to all of you, apart from the definitions that there are from NASA's technology readiness assessment guidance for the proof of concept and the Frascati and Oslo manual for prototype and pilots.
Thank you very much, Spyrangelos. So if there are no further questions, I would like to end the session here just by thanking all the speakers. Thanks for your insightful presentations. And thank you to the attendees who stayed a bit longer, even if we were over time. Apologies for that. We all get very passionate about what we are doing. For follow-up, just please let us know if you would be interested in any of the presented opportunities, and we will distribute the recordings and presentations so that you can deep dive in what was discussed today. And then I leave the floor to Vassilis.
Yep. Thank you very much, Elena. I would like to thank all of you that participated in this very interesting event. We had the opportunity to listen about the opportunities for public buyers and private sector buyers, as well as EIC awardees, to test their innovative solutions. Through InnoMatch, we had the opportunity to listen the offers that are provided in the context of Spin for EIC. In general, what the EIC Innovation Procurement Program offers. We had the opportunity to listen what innovation procurement hubs are about, because we are listening about this initiative and we didn't know exactly what was this, and now this has been explained in detail by Yannis. My message to Yannis is that it is really important to take into account that there are already established initiatives at European level that had to be taken into account in this initiative. For example, the EIC Innovation Procurement Program that has provided very important results for the demand and the supply side, and there is no need there is a need to build on this and not to duplicate the efforts to do the same activities, of course, to congratulate the speakers for the excellent presentations and the organizers for this event. And I hope to see you in another event of the EIC Innovation Procurement Program or Innovation Procurement Hubs, if you have a representative here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Vassilis. Have a good day, everybody.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank
Goodbye.
you. Thank
Thank
you for
you.
changing.
Bye-bye. Have a nice day.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.